This is Criminal Law Part 3. We're going to begin this time talking about statutory first-degree murder. Let's recall that under the common law homicide, there is criminal homicide. Under the common law criminal homicides, there are murder, voluntary manslaughter, and involuntary manslaughter. Beginning here with statutory first-degree murder, this is premeditated, meaning the defendant reflected on and or planned the killing. This time for reflection or planning may be short. The defendant, however, must have become fully conscious of the intent and considered the killing. Looking at statutory second-degree murder, this is malicious intent, which includes intent to kill, to do great bodily harm, reckless indifference, which is depraved heart, or if it occurs or death occurs during the commission of a felony other than those triggering the felony murder rule. And felony murder are bark felonies: burglary, arson, robbery, rape, kidnapping. Any felony other than those may trigger statutory second-degree murder. Statutory voluntary manslaughter, this is a response to adequate provocation. This is the heat of passion. So where you inflame the passion of a reasonable person. Now this is not a defense, so heat of passion, inflamed passion is not a defense. It simply reduces murder to voluntary manslaughter, and this is where it comes in maybe a good question between first-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter, and the time allowed for contemplation and cooling off. Looking at voluntary manslaughter further and the heat of passion, provocation must have some provocation. Words are not enough. Cooling off, if sufficient time to cool off, murder is not mitigated to voluntary manslaughter. And again, a great question for the exam. We're going to have voluntary manslaughter and causation. There's no mitigation if intent to kill was formed prior to provocation. Statutory involuntary manslaughter, this is a homicide committed with criminal negligence or during an unlawful act. Criminal negligence is more than tort negligence, but less than gross negligence. Property crime of larceny, specific intent crime, involves trespassing, taking, carrying away personal property of another with intent to permanently deprive them of. And we know it's specific intent because it says with intent to permanently deprive. And the property crime of forgery, this is also a specific intent crime. Forgery is the fraudulent making of a false writing with apparent legal significance and the intent to defraud. We got the property crime of embezzlement. This embezzlement is the fraudulent conversion of the property of another by a person in lawful possession. Property crime of robbery. This is larceny, therefore a specific intent crime. So it's a larceny by force or intimidation. Taking the property from a person or the presence of the victim by force must be more than necessary for taking and carrying away. So the force must be greater than that required for picking a pocket. Robbery merges larceny, assault, and battery. So larceny, assault, and battery all merge into robbery. Property crime of burglary is a specific intent crime. It's breaking, which means using force to create an opening, entering the dwelling of another at nighttime with the intent to commit a felony therein. Property crime of arson is malicious, which is the reckless disregard creating a substantial risk. It's malicious burning of the dwelling of another. Smoke damage is insufficient. The damage must affect the structure. And that completes part 3 of criminal law.